Okay, so Georgia, did they get the number one ranking in the country back after their 30-15 win over the Texas Longhorns in Austin on Saturday night? It's a huge win. Georgia's got two top 10 wins this season, but they're not the number one team in the country. That goes to the Oregon Ducks, Stan Lanning, and the Ducks ranked number one. That shows you how powerful their win over Ohio State is viewed by voters. I don't agree with it, but I don't think it's necessarily something that is overwhelmingly important. But if we're going to try to be accurate, it's challenging for me to get to Georgia with double digit wins over Texas, who's at number five, and Clemson, who's at number nine, and not say that they're the best team because they lost to number 15. So, it is what it is. I mean, Oregon's got a good win over number four. They've got a win over Boise at 17. Um, Georgia's better than Oregon. Right now, the betting odds are Georgia's at plus 330. And I like track these things because I'm completely a crazy person. And those odds are slightly better than they were to start the season. So Georgia, with that win, probably going to be in the playoff. Probably we'll see about the SEC championship game. We got a lot of games to go here, as it relates to that. Obviously, we're still on the road. These night games are really tough for us. Night games on the road are particularly difficult. Night games are tough, but night games on the road are particularly difficult for us. And so that's why I'm doing this at DWF, some concourse or terminal, whatever the term is for it. So enjoy the background. Um, I thought, again, last night was an amazing performance from Georgia. They did a great job of just being too much for Texas and just being too much. There has been a lot today. Texas apologizing publicly, the SEC chiming in, Josh Brooks with his statement. I was on the field for that moment. There were officials from the SEC on the field for that. Um, I did not see Greg Sankey on the field at that moment. I saw him on the field during the game a lot. So I couldn't say if he was literally had water thrown on him or a bottle or anything like that. There were other SEC associate commissioners and so forth on the field at the time. It was a bad look for Texas. And, Texas has got, I mean this in completely constructive criticism, Texas has got a long way to go before they really are um, sort of administratively in the SEC the way that they should be. And that has nothing to do with throwing stuff on the field. There's other things that could have happened that were. I mean, the media. We were sent on a goose chase last night just to find the press conference, and that's not really acceptable. There's a lot of different stuff, but I think that this was a bad look for Texas on the field, throwing things on the field, all of that stuff. It's bad, and they were right to apologize today. And I think that their season's not over, but it becomes a lot more complex now. I mean, they still have to play Texas A&M on the road. They've got Arkansas on the road, if I'm not mistaken. Georgia Tennessee has become probably an SEC championship game semifinal in theory. You still have Georgia Ole Miss. I mean, Ole Miss is hanging out at 18, not very trustworthy. But um, you know, in terms of who's one and two, I mean, we've got three Big Ten teams in the top four. Um, that's great. I love that Penn State is there. This is about the time that we do this with Penn State, and this is about the time that they, you know, need an adult diaper because this is, they're just. I mean, they've survived to this point. They just haven't lost. Had they played the schedule that Georgia's played, they'd probably have three losses, something like that. Um, I mean, it's great that we reward teams for not losing. There's good in winning for sure. But if you're asking me who would I think would win between BYU and Penn State, I don't certainly think it's Penn State. I don't certainly think that it's possible. That I would like to know what the game. If the game were at BYU, I'd pick BYU. So you get my point. Not all schedules are not created equally. All wins and losses are not created equally. There's no more tested team than Georgia. But the way they played last night is the way that they kind of are. They can be very dominant on the defensive side of the ball. They can move the ball and score offensively. Carson Beck's not going to play. He's not going to have four turnover games or three turnover games. Like we may have seen his last bad turnover game. We may not have, and they still won by 15 on the road. If that game's played in Athens, Georgia probably wins that game 30 points. It would be what I would suspect because Texas simply could not do anything with the crowd, but Georgia still got to be able to run the ball more effectively. That's not where it needs to be yet. Um, obviously, I'm not concerned about Carson as it relates to can he make plays, but when you have however many years, I don't know how many interceptions he's got now. I think 7. Is that right? Like that's a lot in 7 games, one a game, but that's not him. So you guys got to catch the ball too. When the ball is right there, you need to catch the ball. Let's not be pass targets. Let's be receivers. Let's possess the ball. And I don't think that. I mean, if you're a quarterback, you're just going to keep throwing it. But it is, it's asking a lot of the quarterback to continue to keep chunking the ball if guys are gonna drop it. I'd like to see more from Dylan Bell. I think Aaron Smith is starting to kind of get it going. Obviously, Lawson Lucky, another really good performance. The tight ends in terms of passing, it was very good last night. Generally speaking, I think so. It's a really good win from Georgia, powered by the defense. But when you score 30 points on the road, although albeit one of them was knocking right on the door there from a turnover from the defense, when you're scoring 30 on the road in the SEC, you should win the football game. They should have won at Alabama. Are we allowed to say that now? Are we allowed to say that Alabama's just not as good as we people thought they were? They're not as good as I thought they'd be. And they've got some issues. Jalen Milrow's got issues throwing interceptions into the end zone. So we're still we're not at the halfway point. I'm extremely excited for this weekend of college football. I am extremely excited to go home because these night games, man, it's a lot. It's a lot on you physically. To now people who don't do what we do, if they're not hunking cameras around and they're just like sitting in the front row of a press conference, they're not doing anything during the game. They're just kind of traveling and that's it. And that's bad enough. But for us, we didn't get done and probably till, I think it was about 4:00 Eastern last night. We didn't leave Darrell K. Royal until probably 1 Eastern, I think. And then, we did 30 minutes of riding home and we didn't play the game. So the kids get back I would think they get back at 3:00, and then they need a break. I need a break. The kids need a break. Georgia's probably played its most difficult stretch, but there are still games out there that are going to matter a lot. And I have a fan behind my right shoulder. It's still there. There's going to be games that still matter moving forward. You know, can Georgia go undefeated the rest of the way? Yeah, they probably can. Is it asking a lot? I mean, I think it's asking a lot. So, but it's not asking so much though. It's not asking so much, and I don't think that it would be the end of the world to accomplish a season like that. That would be a great season. But if you're gonna play in the SEC championship game, it's really important to win it. Not as important as it was in the past, but it's important to win that game because it sets you up. You're going to the Sugar Bowl at that point. Like that can't be. I mean, I think people don't read stuff sometimes. In all due respect, maybe they're just kind of writing stuff. The SEC champion almost certainly will play in the Sugar Bowl. Almost certainly. Now, not 100%, but it's not plausible. Some of the things I see written, it's not plausible. The scenarios that are laid out. The Orange Bowl can't host the ACC this year, so there are rules to all of this, and so forth. But I think this is an important weekend coming up. But as far as what we just saw, we've seen Georgia play a rivalry game, um, three national big games, which would be, Clemson, Texas, and Alabama. And then they played another primetime game with Kentucky. So we've seen a lot of Georgia. We've seen Georgia tested for sure, more than anybody. And we know Georgia now a lot. We know them. We know they have flaws, but we also know, man, they are mentally tough in a significant way. They are mentally tough. Physically, I don't think physically has ever really been an issue, but they are mentally tough. And like, what happens when Carson, quote, gets it together? What happens when he starts going off? Um, is you can feel Etienne kind of getting it rolling a little bit. What happens when Tate Ratledge is back and you get Small Munden back and you like they're missing pieces still, and they won by 15 points. So are they the best team in the country? In my opinion, they are. But like some of these vote, and we stick with the AP poll because I'm not going to go back and forth a million times. Some of the guys that vote in the AP poll, I know some of them, not all of them, obviously. And like, if you're undefeated, they're just going to vote you number one, and that's part of what this is. But I mean, I don't think there's like a massive argument to be made, like screaming and yelling, having a fit. I wouldn't worry about that too much. I think Texas appropriately was not dropped that far. They basically flip flop with Georgia. I mean, Penn State's not number 3 team in the country, so there's that. But I mean, I don't think you can really get too worked up about it because when you look at the top 10, you go Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, Texas, Miami, Tennessee, LSU, Clemson, and Iowa State. I mean, Iowa State is not great. They score, but they had to survive UCF last night. There's no great team. There's a few really, really good teams, but these teams are not like, the Burrow LSU team, the Alabama team in 20, the Georgia team in 21, or the Georgia team in 22. These teams are much more like Michigan last year, which are fine, and someone's going to win the national championship. So I thought for Kirby and them, it was they were the better team. I mean, when you're a 5-point dog or whatever, which was out of control, ridiculous. It felt wrong. It was wrong. You usually are not the better team. They were the better team. So what my thought experiment of can he win with not the better team? That's still out there because when they line up, perhaps with the exception of Ohio State, I don't even know if you can say that. Perhaps with the exception of Ohio State, they're going to be the better team each time. So the notion of Kirby and them not being the better team and winning, we'll have to see that some other time / perhaps never. But that was a big win for Georgia. They're the number 2 team in the country now. We'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.